It's been about 6 weeks since just before my knee surgery, since I've been able to get out here and record a video. I'm going to go slow and easy today. I'm going to show you some of the things that my garden helper has managed to help get done, and maybe a couple small projects I'm going to try to do today just to sort of catch up with what's growing on in the meadow. If you're new here, my name is Michelle and this is my meadow. I'm gardening on about a 1/4 acre in zone 9B in Northeast Florida. I am definitely not an expert gardener, but I'm learning more and more each year. I started gardening on this property in 2019 and started making YouTube videos about it just 3 years ago. And my garden has expanded from a few little buckets to, I think I'm at 18 garden beds now. And I just love being able to share that with you. So I'm excited that you're here. And I've just recently had knee surgery, had knee replacement surgery. So I'm moving slow, but I'm able to get outside now and go slow and easy and get some things done. So I'm excited to bring you along with me. Now I got to go get a few tools out of the shed so I can trim up some plants. My nephew got me this great rolling cart here, and I think it's going to be a real lifesaver while I'm recovering, especially. But just being able to put a few things in here and roll them around without the big heavy cart, that's going to make me very happy. Just before my knee surgery, so 7 weeks ago, I put in these 2 tomato plants here and those 2 tomato plants over there. And it's fascinating to me just to see the difference in height. Now, I think part of it has to do with location. This bed used to have beans in it last year. That bed had tomatoes. They were fertilized equally, but that bed also gets shade from this. And those plants, when I first put them in, that bed's dirt is lower. So I think when they were tiny, they weren't getting as much sun. But I mean, it's a significant difference between the two. If I kind of use my cane as a measuring stick, this one is up to just there. Let's take a look at the other one. See if I can do this gently here. And so here is that. That one was up to here. So we're talking, what is that? Almost a 6-inch difference. Now, again, same fertilizer, but this bed had tomatoes last year, not beans. That side had beans. But it is wild and woolly and a lot of it's touching the dirt, so I am going to give it some nice trims here. And then I'm going to see what I can do to sort of help pull it towards the trellis here for staking up. Oh, all these that are touching the ground and the dirt where they're gonna get disease and stuff. I don't want that. So I'm gonna take out some of it, thin it out, and see what I'm left with. I have learned through the years, tomatoes can take a pretty good pruning. Now, that's kind of a nice cutting. These are, I think, called Early Girl. I remember sticking the tag in here somewhere. I think these are Early Girls. I might hang on to that one and transplant it somewhere else. That's a nice cutting. Let's see here. It definitely could use more. Oh, take this one off too. Oh, it's got some unhappiness on it. So, let's see here. Now, I do a lot of chop and drop, but because these have some disease on them, I am not going to leave them laying in the bed because I don't want that to spread. 3 different branches starting up here for this one. All right. Feels like I took a lot off, but I think it's going to be good to give the plant a chance to, one, catch up. And 2, get rid of some of the things that were folding it and holding it back. Plus, I do plan to get more soil. And so when I bring the soil up, I don't need anything down below the soil surface anyway. We got one all the way over here. I think I'm gonna take you back to here. We're gonna transplant you as well. All right, there's that side. Now I may have goofed with this one, but I think I'm gonna end up taking this trellis off right here. I just can't take it off by myself today, so I'm gonna clean what I can. I have yet to successfully grow anything big like this. Let's see, I think here's my card here. Oh, these are beefsteak tomatoes. Beefsteak tomatoes. This is, and they seem to be, it says indeterminate, but it also says 4 to 6 feet, so we'll see. Just means it's not a bush. Just means it's not a bush tomato. This one really looks terrible over in this corner here. Because, well, and actually you really should do it anyway, because I do see some disease on these. Before I go to this next bed over here, I want to give that a good wipe down. I use, this happens to be a 70%. Sometimes I have a 90%. It just depends on what I have in the house. I literally just take an actual bottle of alcohol and get one of my spray caps, and then I just always got it. I don't have to go refill a spray cap. I'm also going to clean my hands for good measure. Of course, I just laid that right where those plants are, but that's okay. Here we go. Nice. Now, you may be wondering, what the heck is all this in the middle? Compost bin, and the tomatoes that got put in there have gone hog wild. Let's see here. Let's see what we can clean up around here. We've had to cover and uncover these because after our last frost date, we were still having frost. And so I put out these tomatoes, and you'll see here in a minute some peppers in like February, barely at our last frost date, but we weren't having cold weather. I think I put them in like February 10th or something like that. And this has just gone crazy, which is hilarious. This in the compost bin obviously started as seeds, is almost as tall as the seeds, the plants I put in. So I did go ahead and hit this with some alcohol before I moved over to this plant, just for good measure. It may be an indeterminate, but it is a determined tomato plant. Look at this. There we go. Pull you back out of there. And I might be making a terrible mistake, but you know what? I will learn, and I will figure it out for next time. I think that's what one of the things I love about gardening. For the most part, there really are no fatal mistakes as long as you're still learning. Nothing really fatal about cutting a plant back. I mean, it might not make it, but it's not fatal to you. It might be fatal to the plant. I just wasn't able to get out here and take care of all these suckers either, so I'm taking care of them now. That's a sucker. Now originally when these first popped up, I thought I would have time, energy, and effort to get out here and thin them out. Now these are, I am 95% sure, seeds from a tomato that is an F1 hybrid. And what that means, and what I come to understand that means, is that the babies, which what these would be, the babies of the tomatoes or any plant from a hybrid, is you don't know what you're going to get. So now that I have more tomato plants, which I'll show you in a minute, that I bought, that are my same variety that I really wanted. I have all these beefsteaks. I think I'm just gonna cut this out. I think trying to dig this out and separate these out will be just too much. So here goes some sadness. But one of the reasons I have to cut these out is that my pepper plants, you can't see them over there, but they're shading out the pepper plants. And so, which wasn't my plan. I planned to put low growing stuff on this side so the peppers would get plenty of sun. And you can see the difference. The plants that are shaded versus the plants that are getting more sun. So let's just chop these out. And so why chop them instead of plucking them out? Well, this is a compost bin. There's lots of good things happening down in there. So I don't really want to disrupt that now since I couldn't just prick them out like I'd originally planned. And I could take any of these and reroot them, but I think I'm going to put my energy into the things I know what are growing this time, because I still have sort of limited energy as I recover from my knee surgery. So I have to pick my battles, as they say. And yeah, they're probably still going to come back up, some of them, but it'll be all right. Try to cut that off a little lower. Probably blocking the camera with my shoulder. Move that over a little bit. Let's see. So there is that. There we go. Now, I got some water. I got those in a bucket for right this second. Let's see here. Clean up some of these buckets. And then this will be good for now until I figure out what I'm going to plant next. I think these guys are going to be a little happier now, can get some sun. So I think we're going to change this from a pepper bed into a little tomato bed. I planted these last year, and the folks who wanted the peppers last year don't want them this year. So, and we can't eat these hot reapers and stuff, so I'm going to give this a little freshen up as well. I think we are going to try to pull these roots out because I can't just cut them off with any tools I have out here right now. But as much as I can, I like leaving, as many roots in the ground as I can and not disturbing what's going on. So. Oh, I have gloves with me somewhere. Where's my gloves? I don't know if we can get in close here. We'll see. This is a little bird's-eye pepper that I thought we would like, but they're so tiny and hard to pick. I don't want to fool with that anymore. We'll plant some other Thai peppers, just not that one. So. I'm learning a lot about drip irrigation, and one of the things I learned about this is not enough, even for a bed this size. You know, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10 emitters, which do 1/4 gallon an hour, which gives you about 2 gallons of water, 2.5 gallons of water for this entire bed, which was just not enough this season. So I've got to do something a little different for next time and try to just do it a little better. So I will be getting some more soil in to top off these beds, but I don't have it yet, so I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to add some nutrients. Let's put in some tomatoes. Hi. Oh, we have little earthworms in here. That's fantastic. Get back down there. It's fine. You're fine. I think before I put the tomatoes in, I want to water this in a little bit. It's so dry. And you know, I suppose I could have done this after I put the plants in, but then I don't have to worry about those teeny plants getting getting beaten down with the water hose. Because other than rain, this bed hasn't had any watering since fall, since late fall, because everything finished growing and dying off in here. I'm gonna let that sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm gonna rest so that the water can sort of get in, and then I'm gonna come back and hit it again. All right, we gave that a little rest. I watered in again. Probably one of the bigger problems I've discovered in my garden, it's taken a little time to figure it out, is how much consistent watering matters. And of course, like duh, right? You're growing plants. Of course, watering matters, but I was struggling with making sure I didn't overwater because we would have, you know, we're in Florida. So we have these days where we get 4 inches of rain, and then we have a day where there's none, and then we have a day where we're threatening 4 inches of rain, but it's watering day, so I don't want to water, and then I don't water, and then it doesn't rain. And so I have started paying much more attention. I put in a rain gauge last year. Oh, look here. Look how dry it is. I got my friends are starting to come out now. Those ants are coming up out of the bed. But having the rain gauge has been a huge help in the garden, because now I can just walk out, and on watering day, if we had rain in the past 24 hours, the right amount of rain, I don't need to water. But if we haven't, then I know I need to water. And it was a very simple $5 tool to help me change that. But since this has gone all winter without being watered other than with rain, it's definitely hydrophobic. And the fact that the ants are starting to come up and out of it now everywhere tells me that they have moved in. And so this was the right choice to soak this bed in. In fact, I'm gonna go over this one more time, and I think I'm gonna let it sit again. When your soil is hydrophobic, it just means the water will run through it. You see this a lot in potted plants, that they don't get watered frequently enough, and then the water just runs right through, and you feel like you've watered the plant, but the reality is the soil is rejecting the water, it's just shedding the water. There are some other things I've heard of people putting a little bit of soap in the water. I haven't tried that, but I do know that if I will give it a good water and wait, and then give it another good water and wait, usually 3 or 4 times I can start getting it going where I want it to be in regards to being a more not phobic soil, more receptive to being watered. And so, but I will tell you, the fact that ants are starting to come up tells me that the water's starting to get through somewhere, and they're pretty unhappy about it. So the other place that I have discovered that I am underwatering is in Orchard Row here with all of these fruit trees. They were getting watered fairly inconsistently, and I discovered they need way more water than I'd been giving them. But I haven't had a chance yet to set up a true drip irrigation. So let me show you what I did right before my surgery so I can make it easier on the folks who were helping, and now ultimately it makes it easier on me, because we used to just walk plant to plant and I'd water it for 3 minutes and I would just make that circle like 5 times. Well, I've got 25 fruit trees over there, so it was taking about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get them all watered by hand. So here's what I'm doing instead. Now, I trimmed all of these back in February, and they are really putting on growth, and I believe it's because of the new watering system. You can see this hose, this green hose on the ground here, that's coming from my faucet. And then I brought that into a little manifold here. Let's get in a little closer. Take a look. So I've got this manifold here. I'm in love with these things around my yard. I'm going to use them more and more. And so the water comes in this manifold, and 3 of the 4 have hoses attached. One hose goes over to this other set of garden beds, and then I have a soaker hose that is going out into this, and I have just weaved it around the bed. I don't know if you can see that. This here, I've weaved it around the bed and sort of pinned it down so it stays low. And then I ran a second soaker hose to all the trees that are in the back that aren't planted in the ground, they're in containers. It's not ideal, especially for those trees, because I know it doesn't get nearly as much water as they still need, but meantime, it's getting things done. And so, and then that is all attached to a timer back over here. See if I can walk and carry the camera. So we can see just how much new growth, like for this right here, that is all new growth. A lot of this is new growth. The mulberry I cut back. Oh my gosh, I've never had this many mulberries. Holy moly. Now this is the second year it's been planted here. Oh wow, look at all the mulberries. But I really have upped the water. So in the cooler months it was on, sorry, let me walk back this way. In the cooler months, I could do this. It was on 2 hours once a week. I think as things start heating up, as they are, we're gonna change that to twice a week and this nice slow soak it in. And so back over here, how I accomplish that is that I have one of these little timers I picked up from my local nursery. This one came from Ace, and so I can turn that on the way, and that's a 120. And my helper left the garden water on, but it's off. And I just go ahead and turn it up full. And so this can water for 2 hours. And actually, I replaced all of this equipment this season, and it hasn't been leaking. Even with that, if y'all saw one of the other videos, my penny find at Dollar General, they had some stuff that was on clearance that didn't get pulled off the shelf, and I managed to get some stuff during their clearance sales. And so that garden splitter is working pretty good. Then just follows the hose along, just where I showed you guys. I don't have these on any kind of drip yet, but eventually we're gonna get it all done, because I have discovered I can only do what I can do. But now that that's on, you can see that it's made it all the way back over here, and that we have water dripping off there. And so this isn't sophisticated, and probably, honestly, the soaker hoses are not cheaper than installing drip irrigation. But, oh hi, look at there. Oh hi, how are you? Gosh, this smells so good. I can smell the blooms now. But it gets the job done for now. It did what I needed to do. So you can see what I'm talking about on the drip irrigation there. I've tried to make it lower in each pot. They're not getting a perfect amount of water, but they're getting some water, which is better than no water. Soaker hose is soaker hosing up here. It's kind of funny. It's harder to see because it's more on the ground, but it's coming out too. And then I just use a connector hose, which was one of my old hoses I had. And it goes over to this bed as well. I got a leak here. Probably need to tighten that up. And lo and behold, gosh, I'm getting some blueberries on too, finally. That's great. Some of the flowers are coming back. I put some native flowers in here, some salvia, some rudbeckia, some echinacea. So really excited to see that. And I've got one hole here for something new because I let that die because not enough water. Not enough water. Over here is a pomegranate tree, so we'll see how that does. And I can see my purple salvia is doing good over here as well. Now, this is a mess, but I have, oh man, sorry, I just noticed they dumped the entire thing of seeds on the ground from the bird feeder. I don't know how long ago they did that, but I don't know if this is torpedo grass or not. I've just about given up fighting the torpedo grass. But what I was going to say is this over here looks pretty crappy. Forgive the language. But this is sort of an in-ground compost for things that I don't want my real compost to do. I try to not send things back to the city to compost down and just grind up. It just seems like a waste of resources when I have a place here, though it's not very pretty right now because we did some trimming and stuff. But the goal is I'm probably going to get something to weight that down, maybe a couple pieces of plywood, and weight all of that down and start putting some soil back here and throw in some native flower seeds. This is a native plant, a little daylily. Right here I have coming up, that is a native milkweed, another daylily. This other one is not native. It must have come, it wasn't here when we moved in, but it was here about 6 months after we started using birdseed. So pretty sure that's from the birdseed. This though is an ironweed plant. That is a native and it comes up and gets beautiful flowers on it. But eventually, I don't know when that got moved from on top of the blocks. That's why I'm feeling confused here. At some point this got dumped and didn't get put back up on its stand and I never noticed it till just now. How about that? But eventually this will look a little bit better, but I don't worry about it so much. This is at the back of the property and, you know, nature takes care of it over time. I have discovered some more natives growing back here in the meadow. Very excited. I hope to actually, maybe I can take a few and pot them up and put them in other places, but this is a lyre leaf sage. And so I'm pretty excited. I think that's it, lyre leaf sage. Lyre leaf sage or lyre leaf salvia, they may be in the same family. So I got some of those. I see them kind of all around down here. That makes me very happy. So I'm not gonna mow back here just yet. We do get this mowed a few times a year, but I try to let it get covered up with grass and weeds and whatever wants to grow back here as much as possible, just to sort of restore this habitat. The city was here this week and they helped us finish cleaning out this part of the ditch, the creek, whatever. There was a big log there. If I can find the video or find a clip of what was in there, it was huge. So I'm excited to have that cleaned out so the water can flow a little bit better. And I'm excited. Eventually, the goal is for us to get a bridge across to that side because we purchased this over there last year. And so we would love to have a bridge there. We'll figure it out in time. I don't have to do everything all at once. I think that's probably been the toughest. That's probably the toughest lesson. I just can't do it all at once. I can do it all over time. Sometimes that's a longer time than I want, but just being able to be out here and share some of this with you guys today makes my heart so darn happy. So darn happy, and I'm so glad y'all have hung out to this point in the video to see it. Now, let's walk back over and water in that tomato bed a little bit again. I gave the dollar weed a little tug right here. You know, heard me talk about this being a little hydrophobic, not getting water, but the dollar weed's there. So that tells me it's getting water down below the ground, and I'll show you why. Because over on this side, if I can swing this around, over here is one of our rain tanks. And while we have some overflow for it, it does tend to roll off here, and I can see here it's not overflowing like it used to. This is tearing out again, so I've got one more thing to address, and the cover's all torn off. That lasted about 2 years. The overflow still works, but the problem is the hose has all rotted out now. This was a pool hose. It's not UV stable. It's not meant to stay outside, but it was a test to see. So that lasted about 2 years. And so all the water's now just rolling down this way. So this will be another thing to rip off and get things moving on. Always exciting, always one more project. You never ever run out of garden projects. Let's dig in here and see how this soil is looking. So I'm gonna show you this. You've seen how much water I've put in here, but look how dry some of this still is. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dig a hole where I plan to put the tomato plants. which I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do 4 in this bed. It's gonna be overkill. I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of a trellis for it. But I'm gonna dig the holes and then I'm gonna fill them with water to help more before I ever put the plants in. So I'm gonna go here. This season, I've just gotta take my time and do what I can do. One bed at a time, one plant at a time, one crop at a time. All of those things that we talk about. And maybe I'll plant me some basil right in here. That's got a little moisture to it. But there was a mid layer that's still hydrophobic. I'm gonna bring the camera in close and let you see that. I don't know how well it's gonna show up on the camera, but this is the surface. And that is still dry, even though I watered all that in. It's wet below, but this isn't holding water. And so I'm really glad I'm taking the time to do the preparation that I need to in order to make these tomato plants get the best start they can. Clean off my shovel as I go here. And I'm just gonna fill up each of these with water if it'll let me. That's the other thing about digging a little deeper, because it's gonna fill itself in some. So digging deeper is good too. That makes me very happy to see the water soaking on through now in one way, but it also is I can see that it's starting to turn darker even in that other layer. I'm gonna fill those up one more time. The other benefit of waiting a little while after watering that in with all the ants that were here is they've sort of scattered. And so I'm not running into ants as I dig this up. Now that I've got the holes prepped up, I'm planning to plant these pretty deeply. So I'm going to trim off anything low while it's still sitting in the plant. A little easier for me sitting in the couch here. Be very careful. Last time I did this, I cut my plant in half when I was putting it in, so I decided I won't cut my plant in half this time. There's one. Those are good. Let's get my first one in. I am going in with some plant tone because it's what I have right now. And so I'm going to just sprinkle this in, probably 3 or 4 tablespoons. I was watching a video with Jacques in the garden. He was talking about fertilizing and how we probably use too little. Now this is an organic fertilizer. I like when I can make compost tea and stuff like that, for sure. I'm just sort of mixing it in. And I'm gonna pull this back. I'll take this first baby here, which sat soaking in water yesterday to try to get it ready for transplant. And I'm gonna drop it into the bottom of that hole, which look how deep that goes. Now, I'll pull all this soil back in around it. And now I'm just gonna water it in a little and settle in around the roots. I have been really happy with this Black & Decker sprayer. It's kind of funny. I wouldn't have thought of them as having a sprayer, but again, it was one of those things I found on clearance. And so far, it has held up really well, and I like the wide shower version that it has on there. So, don't need to bury that. All right, 1 down, 3 to go. The plant tone had a little more nitrogen than I wanted. It's a 533. I really wanted something with a little more bloom. I think it's the center number. But for right now, this will be okay. And then when I come back in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll hit it with some bloom, tiger bloom or something like that. So now, in the past, I have used litter bedding for mulch, like chicken litter bedding. And I have made a decision to change over because for me, I was getting all that from Tractor Supply, and I have decided that their shift in DEI policies doesn't align with where I'd like to spend my money, so I'm going to spend my money in other places. This is from Greenhouse Mega Store. It is the garden straw, and I'll put a picture up for that, and I'll even put a link. I'm not an affiliate yet, but I'm going to look into their stuff they sell more and see if it makes sense for me to be an affiliate. The reason I chose them is they had the big bags and other places didn't have big bags, and so I wanted to get the biggest bag I can because I have a big garden. So I'm very excited to try something new this season too, because I know a lot of other YouTubers use the straw. I never noticed any problems as far as people worry that my beds were going to get too acidic, and I never, because it's a pine, I never noticed that was a problem, the best I could tell. But it's a win-win. I can choose where I spend my money, and I can try something new too. So let's water that down so it doesn't blow away and keep on going. I'll find some empty spots here. I see some there. Now, a lot of people wonder about mulching vegetable gardens, but for me, I'm in Florida. I need to retain as much moisture in the soil as I can. It also helps prevent weeds. Well, helps reduce weeds. It doesn't really prevent them, but kind of cool. I got about the right amount. I love it when a plan comes together. The other reason you want to water in the straw, aside from keeping it from blowing away, is it also keeps the straw from just sucking up all the water you just put in the soil. Because the straw is absorbent, you see, and so that then keeps it from absorbing the rest of the water that you've just spent a lot of time putting on the bed. So, and creates another layer of moisture for your freshly planted plants. I might as well, till I get the other irrigation set up, might as well lay this back in here. So when I do want to water, I can just do it with the timer. Now, I can come through and clean up my little bits of mess here, because I'm about done for today. But there's one other thing I want to show y'all before I call it a day. Get these picked up. Actually, two more things. It's a whole lot of Meadow plants. Some good green. But I'm not putting those in my regular compost right now. Actually I could. I should bring y'all and show y'all that. I didn't want to put the ones with the any kind of disease in the compost, because my compost doesn't get very hot. It just gets done by the worms. So we'll see. All right, let me go put this away. I'll just have to carry the camera, figuring it out here. Let's see. Oh, nope, don't roll away. I'm trying to roll away. Stop. Here is my regular compost bin. With cutting back all the bananas and trimming them down, it is full, and it's actually settled quite a bit. So my helper created a second compost bin, and it may not get true compost, but at least it will allow us to let the leaves and waste from the garden decay here on the property, but eventually I think we could get some compost out of this. I recognize that it's got sides, there's too much air, it's never going to get hot. Okay, but eventually we'll make it better. But for now, this gives me an alternate place to put stuff, and so I'm pretty excited about that. So this can just go in there. Hooray. All right. And speaking of bananas, let's go take a look at that real quick. Actually, a little stop off here because we're standing right here. We separated my gardener guy, separated out the comfrey, and we split one comfrey plant into these about 10 or 11 different pots. Now, they definitely need some water. Got to water those in, and those don't have holes in the bottom of the bucket, so got to fix that. But I'm going to water these in a minute because then we're going to transplant them out into the garden too. The day that we were working on it, we just ran out of day, and I was like, hey, let's just put them in pots and water them in for now. If you're not familiar with comfrey, it looks like this. I have a sterile variety, so I don't have to worry about it spreading other than by the roots. And so we took a plant that was about twice the size of this. I'll show you where we got it from, right down here. In fact, we sort of ran out of day. It's all sort of dug up here, but it was right there. And so the goal is to take those and then plant them all along here, and then even put some underneath my fruit trees as well. So we'll just keep letting them grow. This could be separated out too, but we'll figure it all out. Now, before I show you how great the bananas look, I'm going to throw in some pictures of what we were dealing with. I did a little bit of footage on the day we were working. The day that I came out here to do the original trimming of them, my camera was dead. And I was still on the walker. And so trying to get in and swap batteries and do all that would take longer than the work took. So I just took pictures. And so I'll throw those in there now. You can see it was a mess. And it still needs some more work done, but I got all the tops trimmed off, and it looked a lot better just with the tops trimmed off. And then my guy worked really hard. He put about 12 hours into getting it all cleaned out, and then we added mulch, and here's what it looks like now. So it's been a week since I cut these off, and one of the nice things that happened, it was really interesting, the ones that you cut off, if they're dead, this doesn't start happening. And so then he came back through and cut out the ones that were dead and not going to come back. And then you're left with these banana plants, which one is already grown outside the circle. The thing that's funny about this banana circle is the banana circle was originally here. This was the front of the banana circle, the outside edge of the banana circle. So they've just spread this way, but it's okay. I do need to probably prune out some more. It's overcrowded right there, but we'll keep getting it done. But I think just the mulch, we put in as many of the, he put in as many of the cut trunks as he could in here. He's even trying to see if this will grow another banana from just a cut trunk. And you know the funny thing? The plant is growing up right there. So we'll see what happens there. And these were all small banana varieties here. They have never produced bananas for me. So maybe they just get too shaded out with these other ones. I do not know. But that's very possible. But I'm very happy with how this turned out. This is the longest I've hung out in the garden, the meadow, since my knee surgery. Gosh, it's felt good, but I gotta tell you, I'm tired. So it's time for me to get this knee iced and take a little rest. And I would love to hear in your comments what's going on in your garden right now, your meadow if you have one, and where you are in the world watching us here in Northeast Florida. If you want to see more of the different videos of things we've done in the meadow, you can check out this video right over here. And until next time, my friends, remember to drink plenty of water, wear that high quality sunscreen, and as always, have a fantastic day.